Hello, welcome to Two Nerds in a Truck TLDR. Today we are talking about Wheatley Provincial Park.
We had been to Wheatley at the opening weekend last year. And I guess I forgot that this year, and we booked pretty much the exact same trip where we went to Rondo, Wheatley, with a visit to Point Pelly. Uh, so yeah, it was interesting just completely repeating that. Interestingly enough, one of the best experiences we had staying at Wheatley was the egrets, and we did not repeat that this year. We can get into that later, though. Uh, what were your thoughts, kind of?
Yeah, well, we had a great time there again, and we'll tell you all about it.
Okay, so starting with the basics, as an Ontario provincial park, it's under the same reservation system as the rest of the provincial parks. If you've watched any of our videos or seen our posts, you know it's a very slick, very easy system. We booked our site to 5 months ahead of time, 7 in the morning. Not a whole lot of need to with this park, just because it is like for that time of year, it was pretty dead. But if you want a really good site, you're going to want to be there at the 7 a.m. 5 months ahead. Do you want to speak about registration at that one? It was the drive-through window.
Yeah, so you come on up, and the drive-through window is available right there. Super easy. They asked a bunch of questions, more than I was kind of used to, but
They were a lot more friendly at this one though than at
yeah,
Rondo.
yeah. But quick and easy overall, so no complaints.
The interesting thing with their registration setup is when you drive in, it's very small. It's a very small park, and it's a very small parking lot to pull in. But you pull over to the left if you're going to be checking in. You go through the center if you're driving through. But the right is a fill platform,
Yep.
but you can't do the fill platform and kind of check in at the same time because they're directly across from each other. So there's a lot of having to loop around, and we'll get to that later. But it's kind of a weird setup I found.
It is a little bit odd.
Um, so we'll talk maps and signage. The park map at Wheatley, there's actually a significant amount of map for how small the park is. The campgrounds, there's kind of three campgrounds squished in one area, and then another separate campground in another. So they've got full pages for those campground areas, and then just like a really small park overview map. It's not it, it's not the most accurate map. There's Wheatley, I found logistically has a lot of, how do I put this? There's a lot of information missing, and there's a lot of contradictions, and it's just weird how they're not very good logistically. So like the website has mention of two trails. The park map has several kind of little trails and walking areas designated, but there's no real like this is the blah blah trail and it's 2 kilometers long and blah blah. But then there's an actual trail that you went on that's not even on the map at all, and it's a well-worn trail. It's a known trail. It wasn't just you know,
Right.
it wasn't like some little footpath that was created. It was like a trail, and it's not even on the map. So I had a lot of, I guess, like little annoyances like that. Getting around's pretty easy. The signs are all clear. It's pretty straightforward. The loops in the campground can get a bit weird, especially in the Boozy Creek. Is it Boozy Creek? Yeah, the Boozy Creek campground right near the entrance of it, where you're kind of turning off that main road. It gets a little weird, but the signage is generally decent enough. Okay, so why don't you tell us about the poop loop?
So the dump station, you have to loop around the check-in building. So you have to go through there, obviously, with your pass. You'll turn around and you'll take an immediate right. And there's this little loop off to the side. It has two dump platforms, and they each have their own post with the water for rinsing and everything. And there is another fill station just beyond that, just one lane though.
And then, as I said, there was the two fill stations at the front.
Yep.
The recycling situation is a bit weird there, and it was really confusing the first time we went there, because usually we see the dumpsters basically of recycling, and there's kind of these little kiosk things with a bunch of little recycling bins, like the kinds you have at home, and there's no instructions or anything. So it's like I didn't know if you were supposed to bring your recycling there and leave it in a bin, or if you were supposed to take a bin, because there weren't enough bins for everyone in the campground, you know.
Right.
So in 2025, the map now has a section that talks about the recycling program. And yeah, you're supposed to bring a recycling bin to your site if you want. And then when you're done with it, you bring the full bin back to the recycling station. It'll get picked up and sorted by park staff. So I found that interesting. But yeah, that's another. The information at this park is just a little lax, and
Right.
I'm glad they added it to the map this year. But like last year, we were looking at it. It's like, I don't want to take a bin if I'm not supposed to.
Yeah, it felt awkward, so we just left our recycling in our car and brought it back with us.
Took it to the next park or whatever.
Yeah.
So next up is connectivity, the cell reception. I had no problems.
Yeah, we're on Rogers Wireless, and all my connection attempts were just great.
Yeah, and there was a fair amount of rain there on both our trips, and we were able to watch like Netflix or whatever we were watching with no problem. So I guess that brings us to accessibility. Now, one thing we didn't mention at the beginning of this review is that when I wrote the review for Wheatley, it came off hugely negative. But we had a great time at Wheatley. We actually really love Wheatley.
Yes.
But it's, how there's times where it's like something looks good on paper, but then it really isn't. This was like the opposite of that. Is when we went line by line and we looked at stuff like accessibility and the trails and whatever, it kind of looked terrible. You know what I mean? And, the annoyances with the map and stuff like that. So the TLDR on the accessibility section is, if you are a wheelchair user, I would not stay at this park. If you have significant mobility issues, I would probably not stay at this park. My mobility issues were not a problem this day, but there's not a lot for you to do if you are disabled. If you are disabled, the information that's out there in terms of accessibility is not great. Unless you look at a site like Two Nerds in a Truck that gives you the information that Ontario Parks apparently doesn't want to give you about Wheatley. So, sorry, I'm ranting because this stuff's annoying. It should be basic information available out there. So first of all, on the website itself, there's no accessibility information whatsoever. Usually they'll say, we have an accessible comfort station or whatever. There's no accessibility information whatsoever. You have to be on site to see what the deal is. Now, on the map, the current map says that each of the comfort stations has accessible washroom, shower, laundry, and information boards. I find that a little ambiguous because I'm not sure if that's saying the washrooms and showers are accessible, or if the laundry is also accessible, which is not usually the case in these comfort stations. And to include information boards under accessibility, I just found that really awkward. As it turns out, at least one of the showers in the comfort station between Middle Creek and Two Creeks campground is marked as being accessible on site. The door, I didn't end up using it, but it was marked as being accessible. And the road from the Middle Creek campground, the walkway up to it, was actually accessible. So that was nice to see. Other than that, I'm not sure what to tell you. According to the map, there is a barrier-free campsite, but again, there's not much you're going to be able to do in the park. The day use area is not accessible by road. I guess there was a road out there at some point and it got washed out. So now you have to walk across this footbridge to get across there. Now the problem is that footbridge is not something I would want to be taking a wheelchair across.
I don't really even enjoy walking across that as a fully able-bodied person. That is a crazy bridge.
Wasn't I in a boot last year? There was something, I remember going across it and I kind of felt like I was doing something I probably shouldn't have been doing. It's very, how do you...
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey.
It's wonky. I think it reminds me of when I was a kid. There's this museum in Ottawa, and I think it might be like the Museum of Science or something, where they've got this room where they've got all the floors are kind of at weird angles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever took you there. Anyways, it reminds me of that. It was just, I personally, I do some crazy stuff when I'm in a boot or using a cane or whatever. I think a boot or a cane would be the most I would tackle that bridge with. If you're using a knee scooter or crutches or a wheelchair, no. So that alone, that bridge is the gatekeeping to the entire day use area and most of the beach area. Now you can also access the beach area via a road down by the dump station, sort of, because you have to go down a very steep cliff to get to that beach too, and you have to go down a very steep cliff if you get to the day use area over the bridge too. So it's not great for the mobility challenged overall. So just between like the lack of information and you can't get to the beach and you definitely can't use the day use area. The trails are not wheelchair accessible. There's no information out there about the trails. Like, we've done them, but it's just, to me, going to a park for the first time, I would feel much more comfortable having more information. I don't know that I would have wanted to stay there the first time if I'd known how bad. Like, I mean, because you see day use area and you just expect you can go and use it. So it's like, to me, it's very, I don't want to say offensive. I'm not angry about it, but it's not very welcoming to know you have to be fully able-bodied to even access the day use area. You know what I mean? Or to even use the beach. And I was trying to find out information if the washrooms of the day use area were accessible. And I had to come to the conclusion that it's like, oh, it doesn't really matter if they are or not, because you can't even get out there. If you're someone that needs an accessible stall, you're not getting to the day use area anyway. So as far as accessibility goes, this is probably one of the worst parks for accessibility. So sorry to be so negative. Like I said, we actually had a really good time at the park. I really love the park. I will stay there again. But like, if I'm giving it a good objective look as far as accessibility, it's terrible. So anyway, pets.
So dogs are allowed. You got to keep them leashed and clean up after them. Do not let them harass people or wildlife or other dogs.
Yeah, it's the basic rules. They don't have any pet-specific areas that we can tell. Now, for all I know, down on the beach, there might be somewhere that's dog accessible. But again, the information is not out there. There's no information on pets beyond just like what you can't do. So, parking.
There's parking around, and there's the weirdest thing is we're going to get into a little bit more with that day use area.
Campsites? Oh no, the day use area. Yeah.
So that's the hold on the parking for that, because I want to explain that with the day use area. But other than that, I think it's just fine. What do you think?
I think so. Some things are a bit weird. Like, I guess this gets to the day use area, but near the bridge, like the bridge seems to be a pretty big. I mean, that is the access to the trails. That is the access to the day use. There's no parking there, and if you want to park. If you want to go use the day use area and you're staying somewhere that's not walking distance from the bridge, you're going to have to park at the nearby comfort station, which is probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 campsites away.
Yeah.
But there's like 3 parking spots there.
Right.
So it's not really an appropriate place to park there. I would love to see what this park gets like in the summer. We've only done, opening weekend so far, but it's kind of logistically just a really weird situation.
Yep.
There does seem to be plenty of parking in the campsites, but even that's kind of a little odd, and we can get to that in a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Twice now.
Yes.
Anyway, let's talk sky stuff. In general, Wheatley is in an area of very low light pollution, and that's great if you want to look at the stars and stuff. It is one of the more southernmost parks in Ontario, so it's definitely not our first place if we were going to go looking for northern lights. That said... That said, we had a very interesting experience on our second trip just recently.
Yep.
Because we woke up very early because we were going to Point Pelly, and the sky was bright pink, like really bright pink. I'm like, that is like, we've seen really bright Aurora Borealis before, but not like that. And there's so much of it. It's like, wow. So, because I thought it was sunrise at first, because I thought it was like a really pink sunrise, but the time didn't work out.
Yeah, and if you're not really familiar with Aurora Borealis, it looks mostly white to the naked eye. It's really when you get it on camera that you get those bright, vivid colors.
Except for like October 10th or whatever it was, that was pink till the eye.
There are some exceptions, but it's still fairly muted. And this that we saw here was like purple, violet.
No, it was neon pink.
I saw it more. Oh, okay, I thought it was more purpley, but yeah, it was definitely like
stunning. But it was
strong.
Like, yeah, we thought it was just this crazy sunrise, but then it was still dark out everywhere. And then we realized we're looking straight west, or it's kind of northwest, wasn't it? It did not work out. So as it turns out, there's a bunch of greenhouses over by Leamington, and apparently they use different lights for different things.
Yep.
So I've seen pictures where they have like the bright green and you know what I mean? So if you see weird lights by Wheatley, you're probably looking at something growing
Yeah.
rather than Northern Lights.
And when we say a bunch of greenhouses, I mean like acres and acres and acres of greenhouses.
No, that's
like
on the other side.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I don't know how much. I mean, they might have
Okay.
acres and acres
Well,
of Leamington, but the ones we passed on the way in,
Sure. Or
that's
side?
to the east. Yeah, yeah. So, anyways, there is a chance if we ever do get a crazy, like May 10th, 2024, or October 10th, 2024, kind of huge substorm, that the greenhouses might prevent you from seeing the northern lights.
Yeah.
The really bright fake northern lights might screw up the actual northern lights. So just something to keep in mind if you go there. Honestly, if you're going to be going out that way to see northern lights, you're probably better off going to Pinery.
So what's next? Are we ready for campground amenities?
Yeah, let's talk amenities. I kind of got into that with the accessibility thing. So the comfort stations, there's not a lot of information on them. Apparently, so there's 3 comfort stations. There's 2 in what I want to call the main campground because it's the one we've stayed at, and it's like the bigger one, where it's Middle Creek, one between Highlands and Middle Creek, and one between Highlands and Two Creeks. So I think Two Creeks was the southernmost one. In any case, so there's 2 comfort stations in that set of 3 campgrounds, and they're kind of in between each of the main campgrounds there. And there's another one over in Boozy Creek. They're all kind of a bit older. The one that's the southernmost one, so between Two Creeks and Middle Creek, has a playground. They all have showers. They're all supposedly have accessible toilets. And then I think there's only laundry in the Boozy Creek and Two Creek Middle Creek, or not Boozy Creek, the Middle Creek, Highlands, Two Creeks campground. Yep. Again, it's weird because it depends on where you look. Because I think the first time around we had no idea that there even was laundry because I don't think they mention it on their. Was that one of the things where they don't mention it on the website, but they mention it on the map?
Yeah, it is on the map.
Yeah. So I think the first time around it's not on the website. Then there's also vault toilets around. There's vault toilets in the day use area if you can get to the day use area. But that's, I guess, all I want to say about the comfort stations. You got anything?
Nope, nothing to add.
So the park store you went into.
Yeah, so there's a cute little park store in the front office, and they sell some kind of clothing and kind of the basics. You're not going to get your groceries or anything major there, but I think they had like a coffee station set up and just a few little things here and there.
The picture made the store look a little bit bigger than I would have guessed it to be from looking from the outside.
Yeah.
So now we talk day use area.
Okay. So you gave a lot of the heads up already. I'll quickly overview that you have to take this interesting footbridge over to the day use area.
Can we just give the so Porter is from Minnesota, and interesting means something very different in Minnesota that I took a while to understand. So when he says interesting, how would you define interesting, Porter?
It's awful.
See, I used to say things are interesting when I lived in Minnesota with him. I'd say, "Oh, that's interesting," and I'd literally mean that's interesting. But apparently, you're saying that like that is garbage.
That is awful.
So
no.
So, but you mean the in the Minnesota sense that bridge is interesting.
I definitely do. Okay. Yes, it is awful. But before you even get there, you got to obviously get to that footbridge. So if you happen to be camping nearby, obviously you're just going to walk over. But if you're not, you're going to want to drive. And where are you going to park? There may or may not be a parking spot right by the footbridge. There's a site right there.
But there is like a pull-off that kind of looks like it might be a site.
Yeah, and we saw a staff member parked there last year one time.
We fell for that before, though. We fell for that at Rock Point.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah, and we got a ticket for that. So it doesn't explicitly say it's a parking spot. It's not on the map as being a parking spot, so I wouldn't assume it's a parking spot. It just kind of looks like one.
And even if it is a parking spot, it's one parking spot.
Yeah.
So you mentioned about roughly 5 sites down is that comfort station. Cool, parking there, right? Yeah, for 3 cars and maybe 4.
For fairness, though, is that the way the campsites are mapped out, like the actual campgrounds,
yeah,
it's a fairly easy walk. And now I'm probably sounding ableist now, but like, the comfort stations aren't that far, especially that comfort station is not that far from the campsites it services.
Right.
So
But
there might not be a lot of parking spots being used, but it still comes down to there's like 3 or 4 parking spots there.
yeah, I see a lot of people parked there when you have kids you're dealing with and things like that, you know. So it
Yeah.
seems pretty normal for people to drive there.
Anyway, parking aside,
Yeah.
let's get going because we could rant about the logistics of this park all day.
So you finally find a way to get to the footbridge. You cross the footbridge. You made it. Huzzah! And you get across to the other side. And it's not that glorious, to be honest. It's neat. It's got some nice open areas. It's got some trails over there. It's got some nice views.
You can't really tell there's a beach there.
Yeah.
Like you go in, it's basically a field. And then there's a really steep drop off. Like you have to get right up to the ledge and they look down and there's a steep drop off. And I think there was little trails that you could get down that were kind of washed out the first time.
Yep.
And then we didn't go this time.
Yeah. So it's neat. If you want to go for a walk, it's someplace to go and you can have that adventure on the footbridge and go over there. But it's not really a destination day use area.
I feel like if you're going to have a day use area that's like a little bit of a quest to get to between parking and like a really kind of scary bridge and like just all the fuss, I feel like it should be a little like Shangri-La, you know, like there should be this really interesting site waiting for you, and it's just kind of basically maintained
Right.
fieldish area with some picnic sites.
Yep. Nothing really wrong with it. Just nothing really great.
Yeah, no, and the interesting thing is that they have a really cute picnic shelter by the comfort station with the playground area.
They do.
So like it's weird to me that I mean it's probably an accessibility, not accessibility in the disabled sense, but just an access thing.
Yeah.
Is that like if you're going to rent a picnic shelter to someone, I guess you don't necessarily want to send everyone across the bridge to get there, you know, like you'd want something that people can drive up to with whatever party accoutrement they're bringing with them, you know?
Yep.
So yeah, it's a weird situation, and I know I am sure right now anyone listening to this is like they hate this park. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
it's like that's what I'm saying is like when you look at it on paper, it's terrible. Like when we were actually going like, okay, let's talk about this section. It's like, oh, the day use area, oh, the parking situation, oh, the accessibility. But it's a cute park, and the sites are fantastic, and we'll get to that in a sec. But rental situation, not a lot in the way there.
Yeah, so you can rent. They're part of the tackle share program, so you can get fishing gear all set up for like a refundable deposit. That's pretty cool.
Apparently they're completely rigged too. So I like that because I don't know anything about fishing. So the fact that they'll just hand you something good to go, I think that's cool.
Yeah, I've never taken advantage of that, but that does sound like a cool feature. You can also rent a personal flotation device. Again, you just give them a deposit, and they'll give it back to you when you return it.
It's a borrow, not a rent.
Okay.
So campground details. We'd gotten into a bit of this earlier. Is that there's 4 campgrounds divided, and there's 4 campgrounds and a group campground. So of the 4 campgrounds, 3 of them are grouped together on the west side of the park, and then one of them's off by itself. So the 3 that are on the west side of the park are the ones that are kind of along that creek. That's the Highlands Campground, the Two Creeks Campground, and the Middle Creek Campground. They are a mix of electric and non-electric sites. Then sort of towards the middle of the park, there's Boozy Creek Campground, and that's kind of the first one you pass as you're coming in the park from the front office. I think that one's all non-electric. It is also radio free. Their comfort station looks a little scary too, so I don't know that I'd want to camp there, but some of the sites are super cute there. Do you remember those ones that were like right down by the water?
Yeah, those were cute.
We like to drive around and see what's what. So they had some really cute campsites. And then there's 2 like fairly large group campsites on the far end of the park. Like kind of actually you have to loop back to get to it, don't you?
You do. You
have to check in and then turn around and basically go like you're exiting the park to get to the group campsite.
Right. It's right by that dump station. The exit to it is right by the dump station. It's it is kind of an odd spot to get to.
So their campsites are the really nice campsites are a little weird. So the first time we rented there, we picked a campsite. We didn't know about booking the 5 months ahead or whatever, and we just grabbed what we could. So we got an electric site that was not listed as being waterfront. Like it didn't say adjacent or whatever it was.
Yep.
And on the map, it did not look like it was adjacent to the water. It looked like there was another site in between. And we were thrilled when we got there, and we've got a great view of the water, and we had like a private little path down, and it was really cool, and it was a really cool surprise.
Yep.
It was weird though, because there was another site backing onto our site, and then we had two entrances to our site, and you couldn't tell where our site ended, and neither could the other people.
Yeah, there was no border. Like a lot of times they'll take like a fallen tree and they'll use that as a border, or grow some bushes on there or something. And it was just kind of open. And so the neighbors on the other side pulled up roughly the same time we did. And so we're both trying to figure it out. We're like, okay, well, there's the post. So let's just assume that the power post is right on the dividing line. And just kind of made an assumption on where it went. And we're like, okay, we were both happy. So it worked out.
Yeah, so it was a cute site, but then there's also that weird V situation.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell which there, like usually it's you've got one pull into your site, or you've got just kind of an open site where it's very clear the borders of your site. And this one we had kind of two entrances, like there was one main one and then there's kind of one off to the side that made a V with it. And the one that went off to the side, we weren't quite sure if it was ours or the neighbors.
Yeah.
But then it was like to our site. It's kind of hard without seeing it, but it was kind of just an odd layout.
Right. It definitely wasn't a pull-through site, but yeah, it had two distinct roads going in.
And then this time around, we had another weird situation because I very specifically booked one that was adjacent to the water. And the picture on the website had us with just big, clear view of the water. So then we get there, and there's like the truck from the site to the left of ours. Their site was actually kind of behind ours, like between ours and the water. So the post was directly straight back from our site.
Yeah.
And he was kind of, I don't know if he was in our site or not, because the pad of his, it was a weird angle. So it was weird that we got a better view of the water and more access to the water when we booked the site that we didn't think was waterfront.
Yeah. So yeah, the second site there, the pizza pie shapes were really odd. And so yeah, the name.
Oh, the drive ups, you mean?
Oh no, I just mean the land, that is allocated to us, and so yeah, the power post was oddly in our backyard, so to speak, and so the neighbor kind of drew an invisible line from his road post to that line, and that seems reasonable. But it did make it so we didn't really have much water access anymore, so it was kind of weird.
The post, if you're sitting in the campsite, like where you know that the camp. Where our camper is supposed to park, and you're looking straight out to the water, like our picnic tables were there, so we knew that at least part of that was our site. But then the post is like right in front of the waterfront. There's like just a little kind of window to the water, and the post is right there. So it was really weird. I think maybe he might have had like this weird triangular slice going to the post, so I'm not sure. And the sites on the map are just like a little dot. Like there's nothing saying this rectangle is yours, and this. I'm just used to there being more definition, so it was just kind of odd. And our neighbor was nice. He was like, we didn't meet him or anything, but he, kept himself and
exactly. There was no arguments or anything.
But if that had been like a family with kids running around,
oh man,
there's no way. Like we couldn't say, well, this is our site, this is your site, because we have no idea, and neither did they. So it was just weird. Now, but the nice thing, and we talk about birding later, but like. Let's talk about our site both times. The Blue Jays.
Oh, man.
So the first time, the Blue Jays were so loud we could hear them over the air conditioner. And it would have been obnoxious if we weren't so, like, enthralled by it, because there's so many of them.
Yeah, right? They were flying all around. They're fun to watch,
The cats. See, you got to look at the blog post I posted pictures of the cat. Our cats... Like sometimes sometimes they'll look out the windows when we're camping. Usually when we're on like a Great Lake and there's big waves or whatever. Like they love Meaford.
Yep.
But they were glued to the windows of Wheatley. Like I haven't seen them act like that before. There were just so many birds around. So that was really cool. The other cool thing was the first time around. See, this is getting more birding, but this is definitely campsite stuff.
Yep.
We had. Was it great egrets?
Yes.
Great egrets in the stream, but what is it? A creek?
I believe.
Creek behind our campsite. Tons of great egrets. So that was really cool to watch. I don't know what happened because we visited the same time of year this time and there wasn't a single one. But we saw 2 bald eagles at separate times and a couple great blue herons also at separate times fly by the back of our campsite. Like sitting there eating breakfast and a great bald eagle flies by. So
It was great, and
that was cool.
we weren't even out in our campsite all that much because we, like you mentioned earlier, we went to Point Pellet quite a bit. So yeah, to have that right in our backyard there was really great.
And I'm sure it was happening far more often because it was literally, I'd look over, I'm like, oh, there's a great blue heron flying by.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I don't think I caught like the only one that went by.
Yeah.
Okay, so hiking. I'd kind of alluded to part of this at the beginning is that there's not really any information about their hiking trails. This site just says there are 2 hiking trails in the park. Best I can tell, it's the hiking trail that goes like basically the bridge and kind of a loop around the day use area. And then there's another trail that goes from the day use area all the way across to the sorry, we've got a cat chiming in here.
Turbo.
So anyways, back to this. So best I can tell, the second trail is the one that goes from the day use area out to the beach area, the one with the poop loop, right? Because there's like a long trail along the map that goes there. Now there is another trail that goes just along the west side of Sugar Creek. We accessed that via the canoe dock, but you said that the trail goes from the footbridge also.
Yeah,
we're not sure if that connects up all the way though, because we haven't done it.
Right. It's a very narrow path, winding around, and it kind of goes up and down. It's pretty rough. So,
but it's well used. Like that is a trail.
Yeah, it's definitely a trail. I'm just saying it's not something you'd want to take a stroller on. You know, it's more of a hiking trail.
But like we couldn't tell you anything about like distances or anything because they don't have any of them. Like usually if they don't have it on the map, they'll have it on the website or they'll have trails named or whatever. And instead we're kind of floundering saying, well, the one that goes along the creek or the one that goes over the bridge or, you know what I mean? It's just, it's nice to be able to say, oh, the blah, blah trail. So it's a little annoying. So basically if you are into hiking, probably not the park for you either.
Yeah. The hiking in the day use area, the trail there is kind of nice. I remember doing that last year. And
it's not scenic though.
It's not all that scenic, but
it's not challenging. Like I know I talk big, even though I'm like crippled. But like, if I'm going like hiking, like if I was going for like a hike, I wouldn't call that a hiking trail. I would call that like a nice place to walk your dog or to like take a stroll. Like it's nice, like get a walk in kind of thing. I wouldn't call that a hiking trail at all.
I agree. It's a lovely walk and not really a hike. Fair.
Yeah. So what are we talking about next? Do you want to do birding?
We can do birding.
Okay, so birds are because we go first thing in the season at the beginning of April when this park opens. It's on a migratory path.
Yep.
So it's known for the birds. What did you see for birds?
Well, you'd mentioned the great egrets last year. I was disappointed that we did not see them this year.
We got bald eagles though.
We did get the bald eagles flying by, and you mentioned the great blue heron, and of course blue jays. Also saw a kingfisher flying by. That's always welcome. Merganser duck, tree sparrows, red-winged blackbirds everywhere, but they're literally everywhere. Some other cool stuff I think there
was that one morning where you went out and it was just tons of stuff. I've got the list here actually.
Yeah.
So it was American robin, American tree sparrow, bald eagle, belted kingfisher, black-capped chickadee, blue jay, brown-headed cowbird. I hate saying that word. Brown-headed cowbird. I feel like I've got marbles in my mouth. Brown thrasher, Canada goose, common goldeneye, common grackle, common merganser, great blue heron, European starling, house finch, house sparrow, mourning dove, northern cardinal, northern mockingbird, red-bellied woodpecker, red-winged blackbird, song sparrow, tree sparrow, white-breasted nuthatch, and white-throated sparrow. Now, I'm going to say, when we do a TLDR for Point Pelly, you get to read off the birding list after I got through this one.
That's fair.
So,
the mockingbird I heard right in our campsite, and I was looking and I could not find it.
Yeah, we've never seen one either, so that was disappointing.
It was mocking me.
Oh, God. I should have known you were setting up for something. Anyway, biking. There aren't any bike trails, but you're allowed to cycle on all the roads in the park. Swimming, there are the beaches.
Beaches is in quotes.
Beach, yeah, I wouldn't. It's not a swimming beach. Like, was there even any sand? I remember because the first year, because I didn't go see it this year, but last year I remember. All I remember is that the waves look like I would not want to swim in there, and obviously that's a function of weather a lot of the time. But there was a lot of driftwood, and it seemed more like an obstacle course than a beach.
There's actual sand.
Is
It's
there actual
not.
sand?
Yeah, it's not off. There are areas where you could actually enjoy a beach, but it's not a great beach. You know,
It doesn't like. I'm looking at the photos we took there, and it's like it's not like
Wasaga Beach.
Port Burwell or you know what I mean. It's not like
Yeah.
a beach.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know what I mean? So, and it's not that welcoming either. Like back to the day use area thing. It's like you have to go up this weird cliff and like it's I don't know. Maybe I've just got this weird like nostalgic idea of like walking along the sand or whatever. But it doesn't feel like going to a beach there.
Yeah.
You know. So what other activities were there?
Canoeing.
Canoeing.
So there is.
That would be a cool place to canoe.
It really would. Nice calm water. So for us, we're beginners at these kind of things. So that would be a great place for us.
And the birding out there would be cool with the canoeing. Because also, we didn't mention for wildlife.
Yes, deer we saw 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, and one of them we saw over 20 in one go.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
So, and that was just on the side of the campground road. So I'd imagine if you're canoeing down in the creek,
Yep.
that you'd have a view of all kinds of wildlife down there.
Yeah.
And it does look pretty still.
So near the Middle Creek Campground entrance, there's a little canoe dock. So you can launch your canoe right there. And
There's a few parking spots too.
yeah, there are. There's more than the...
I was going to say more than the comfort station.
Or the comfort station, yeah. So it's really cute, and it's a great spot for it.
Fishing is also popular in the park. Right behind our campsite, the first time around, we saw some really big fish jumping out of the water. Do you remember that one night when we were there for sunset and they were all it was crazy watching that.
I do remember that.
So anyways, we didn't know what the fish were, but later on someone commented on our review to say that they were carp. I could see that.
Yeah.
But so anyways, it says that the Boozy Creek and Sugar Creek are apparently where the fishing opportunities are. We don't know what kind of fish there are there. But that you can fish for perch, pickerel, rainbow trout, and smelt on Lake Erie itself. So if you need a better, like more than a canoe to go do that, there's a public boat launch in Wheatley Harbor. And apparently there's a pier there that you can fish right off. We actually haven't been there. I meant to go there this year, but we got too stuck with our million trips to Point Pelly.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about next?
Discovery program. There is a discovery program, but we've not been able to partake because it's only in July and August.
Well, I mean, they're usually for kids too. So
Well, I know.
I don't know about us partaking in general, but
We didn't get to observe it.
we didn't get to hassle a park employee.
Oh, like Bon Cher?
Bon Cher, that's what I was thinking. I forget her name. She was amazing though. That was fun.
It was.
Anyway, yeah, but they don't really have any like central gathering place for this. Like maybe they use the picnic shelter or something, but they don't have like a visitor center or an amphitheater or anything like that. So I'm kind of guessing that their discovery program was just like maybe a table over by the picnic shelter, the playground, or maybe like the activity book.
Yeah.
Like I can't see them having huge. I certainly haven't seen any mentions of them having any like huge offerings like like Algonquin or like Pinery where they'll just have like huge calendars of like, well, this night we have
a guest.
A guest and a walk and a this and a that and whatever. Like I'm guessing there probably isn't that much. It's also very small. Like Wheatley's pretty small.
It is.
So what do you want to tell us about Niantic games at Wheatley?
There's not a lot to go there. So we did have good connection, like you said earlier. So that's good. But someplace like a comfort station, things like that, you're going to get your daily hacks in. But
kind of just that. Like if you're doing it when you've got some kind of event where you're supposed to hack 25 times, that might be a bit difficult.
Right. So just the bare minimum.
So as far as nearby attractions go, I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff out there. I know getting to Wheatley, we traveled on the terminus segment of the Underground Railroad.
Yep.
Which is an interesting to do when I'm checking Facebook and seeing what our friends are going through down south. But I shouldn't even laugh. That's terrible. But yeah, no, it was honestly kind of an odd feeling to see the signs about that. But yeah, we didn't really check out any of the actual attractions because we spent most of our time at Point Pelly. Great park, great opportunities for birding.
Yeah, we have a completely separate review. We also have a TLDR for that one, so check those out.
Well, I'm sure you're going to post this one first, so eventually we will have a TLDR for that one.
Yep.
So I guess final thoughts.
I really like it. It is a small park, like you said, and I love Point Pelly so much. And there's no Point Pelly doesn't offer the kind of camping we want to partake in. So Wheatley is this great base camp for Point Pelly.
And their waterfront sites, like they're the ones that overlook the creek, are really fantastic. They're just weird. You know what I mean? Like, I think I wish when we were there this time, I would have taken more time to like really look at like, because we looked and we're like, oh, this is a cute site. Oh, that's a cute site. Oh, we could book this one, or this one. But I don't think we really looked at like where do the pads go.
Yeah.
So I think it might have been a good idea to look and be like, oh, okay, well, the back of this site is actually their site. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I wish I'd taken more of a look at that. Honestly, though, like I feel like I bagged on this park the entire time, and it's just, but you know what I mean? It's like I actually really like the park. It's just if you look objectively at individual things, it doesn't.
It doesn't check off all the boxes for a great park. You're right.
But it's like actually being there, like being in our site and hearing the birds and seeing like bald eagles flying by and the cats loving the
Blue Jays.
the Blue Jays and everything. Like it was a fantastic time. It's just if you're going looking for hiking, if you're going, and you're using a wheelchair, there are some very definite drawbacks to the park. So I guess this is one of those parks where it's very much like it's going to depend what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You're like, I do love it, but and the other thing is like we have an RV, we have our own washroom. I don't have to rely on accessibility of a comfort station or whatever because we have everything really self-contained. If we were tent campers, my view of Wheatley might change.
That's true.
If we were tent campers, we probably wouldn't get any sleep with all the birds, honestly.
Yeah.
But anyways, no. So we love Wheatley. We totally recommend checking it out if you're not a wheelchair user. If you are a wheelchair user, I would pass.
Fair enough. Well, check out all this information online. We've got a full blog with all these pictures and all this information listed out in a nice, coherent format. And subscribe to us. You'll get a newsletter. You'll get our updates only for new posts.
Yeah, I hate saying subscribe to our newsletter because I feel like the newsletters I get are newsletters. And I've seen what we basically have an auto mailer thing that I think it's once a week. It just says, here's the new post. So if you want to know when we post new stuff,
yep,
you'll get that. If you want chatter from me, you're going to need to subscribe to our YouTube because I don't do newsletters.
That's right. So like and subscribe and check us out on the next TLDR.
See ya.